Today we are working on a new recipe for me. It is going to be a chocolate caramel peanut cookie, and it sounds like it's going to be quite a versatile recipe. And I've already got my brown sugar, my regular cane sugar, and my butter creaming, and I've got 1 egg already in my mixer. And in my dry ingredients, I've already got my flour weighed out. So in my dry good bowl, we've already got 2 cups of flour. And if you're going to weigh this out, it's going to equate to 260 grams of your favorite baking flour, a half a teaspoon each of baking soda and salt, as well as ground cinnamon. I've opted to go with a teaspoon of cinnamon in this recipe. And there's 1 whole egg in this mixer. There's a cup of packed brown sugar, a half a cup of granulated sugar, and 1 large egg, as well as 3 cups of butter. And I have extremely soft butter in. You can go with melted butter. And if you do, then you're going to need to mix your sugars in before, and then not add your egg in. Let your sugar mix in really well after you cream it, and then let your sugar stand for a few minutes. Let it fully absorb a little bit before you add your eggs and the rest of your wet ingredients, so that everything can combine a little bit differently. But because I'm just using really, really softened butter, we can kind of proceed in a little bit of a different way. So let me go ahead and adjust you so that you can see how I'm going to proceed with the rest of the wet ingredients before we add our dry ingredients. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add 1 egg yolk. You also need to get in 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and I am going to go ahead and measure that out. I am just going to drop my mixer down and get everything off the sides and off my paddle before we drop our dry ingredients in, just so that we get a nice mix. And I'm sort of recovering from a bit of the sniffles. It's been hanging on for about a week. If I sound a little scratchy and you hear the sniffles, I'm sorry about that. Hope my clearing of my throat doesn't bother you too much. Again, this is all of our dry ingredients, and I've already kind of mixed everything together. If you want, you can always just go ahead and run all this through a sifter and just sift it right into your mixer as well. That's another way to lighten everything up too, so that you get really nice, soft, chewy cookies. But I've got a nice light flour from Azure, and I really like how it bakes up. And I've been finding that the Ramiano organic salted butter and the unsalted butter, along with the just plain Azure all-purpose flour, seems to really be giving me a nice light cookie. And I don't know if maybe because it's a more freshly milled flour, maybe that's what the difference is. I know when I was cooking with the King Arthur flour, which I absolutely used to really love using, I was getting a much more dense cookie. So I do think the different flours definitely have a different outcome on how our baked goods turn out. So it may not always be an oops on our end. And also the weighing out of our flours, and I suppose all of our ingredients. I don't weigh all my ingredients, I just weigh my flour. So let me just go ahead and give this a light blend here. And I always start on just the stir, so that I don't have flour everywhere. I have enough crap to clean up. I don't need to be creating a bigger mess for myself. And that is more than enough mixed. Open up this little bag that has both chocolates, or I should say a trio of chocolates, peanuts, and caramel, all blended in, and it's an 8-ounce bag, so this pretty much contains a cup's worth of items. So as this is stirring, I am just going to sprinkle. You know, I bet you cranberries would be really good in there too, but I haven't opened my bag yet. So I think maybe, and that's pretty full of yummies, so maybe I will just leave it just with that. And what we are going to do is leave our dough to chill. And what I have been liking lately is scooping our dough onto our tray and putting that either in our freezer to individually flash freeze for just a few minutes to just chill each dough ball. It seems to go a lot quicker, and then I don't end up with the center of my cookie dough still being at room temperature and then spreading on me. That seems to work a lot better. Or you can put the entire dough ball either in like a disc in your refrigerator and chill that for 20 minutes. That works out pretty well too. And then chill your dough for at least 20 minutes in your refrigerator or scoop it out. And I've got 2 different sizes of cookie scoops. I tend to like the smaller size cookie scoop. I did a set of my oatmeal raisin, my chewy oatmeal raisin, both in my smaller cookie scoop and my larger cookie scoop within the last 2 weeks. I like the texture a whole lot better in my smaller cookie scoop that I did before Christmas versus the larger cookie scoop in my after Christmas batch. The flavor was just much, much better. They weren't nearly as chewy. I had to cook my larger cookies probably an extra 6 minutes, and I just thought they tasted icky. Everybody else said they were fine. I thought they were icky. So I like the smaller cookie scoop size. I think that the texture is chewier and just better overall. So I am going to go ahead and scoop these out, get them on a cookie sheet with some parchment. And once I have everything scooped out, I will bring you back, and then I'm going to toss them in my refrigerator or in my freezer for about 10 minutes and then pop them in the oven. And once I am ready to pop them in the oven, I'll bring you back and show you what temperature and time frame that I'm going to cook these at, and we can see how they come out of the oven and what all they look like. Okay, we've gotten our cookies chilled, scooped out, and rolled into a small ball. We've also gotten our oven preheated to 325 degrees. We're going to cook our cookies for 8 to 10 minutes. We want our cookies to be slightly browned around the middle, but we want them to look a little bit undone in the middle and just browned around the edges. And I roll my cookies so that they stay in the ball. I don't push the center down. They will spread a little bit, but I like my cookies to be soft and chewy rather than crispy all the way through. If you like a crispy cookie, then you're going to cook your cookies a little bit longer in the oven, or you can just bump your temperature up to 350 rather than the 325. Again, just to reiterate what your cookie batter consists of, we have 3/4 cup of butter, at least quite softened. You can go all the way to melted, but remember what we talked about earlier, you're going to have to handle your wet ingredients a bit differently than what we did in the video. 1 cup of packed brown sugar, and it's your choice if you'd like to use a light brown sugar or the dark brown sugar like we did here. A 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 1 large egg plus 1 egg yolk, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 2 cups of all-purpose flour or 260 grams, 1/2 teaspoon each of baking soda, salt, and ground cinnamon. And we used a combination of chocolate, caramel, and peanuts. You could use cinnamon chips, you could do dried fruits, you could do just about anything that you wanted as far as your additives into the cookies. I can see this batter being quite versatile, so I think that we're going to be keeping this in our recipe book as a really nice base. So I'm going to go ahead and bake these off, and I will be right back with you to show you what they look like once we pull them out of the oven. Also, you can see when I loaded my oven, I did not just put one cookie tray on the middle rack. I just loaded my racks every other tray. If you prefer just to put your cookies on the middle rack and bake one tray at a time, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm just going to go ahead, set my timer, and check my cookies. I'll be right back with you when the timer goes off.